Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bliss Podcast. I am your host, my Rishi Dasa, your most insignificant rascal host. Why are you even listening? So insignificant, right, Rishi? But I'm here with a very significant personality. My co-host from a long time ago, and he left now, but now he's back again. Resurgence, revival. Hare Krishna, dear Puruji Prabhu, how are you doing?
Hare Krishna, I'm so happy to be with you here tonight and on this podcast. And I am significantly insignificant.
That's more insignificant than I am, so now I'm significantly disappointed. You've got a nice sound effect there.
What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to be talking about how to make a temple, which is a rather important topic because the world's in a real, to speak lightly, the world's in a real stool right now. Of course, you always need temples, but especially right now, people are acutely feeling the pangs of material existence because of this COVID nonsense, pressures from the material world, Adi Daivika, the disease, and then also Adi, what is that? Adi Atmik, no.
Adi Devika.
Adi Daivika is the natural.
That was Adi Devika or Adi Botika. That's what you feel. When Adi Botika comes, this is how you feel. But at that time, you are not thinking of the how to define whether it's Adi Bhotika, Adi Devika, or Adi Atmika, the three different types of suffering that we're undergoing. You just feel a lot of pain. So it's important, right, to make a temple.
Temple is the haven from these horrible screams. You don't hear the screams in the temple.
Maitreya has a good habit. He likes to talk while the microphone is 1,000,000 miles away from his mouth.
So that again, I have to waste my breath repeating the same thing I just said. I just did it again.
You're wasting Krishna's energy by moving your tongue for no reason and wasting your muscles that you will need to preach Krishna consciousness. To convince one person, you need exactly 1 billion movements of the tongue telling him that no, you are not this body, you are spirit soul. The tongue develops a special muscle. It's called the preaching muscle.
Okay.
And then you can speak faster. You can chant your japa faster. Yeah. By the way, I'm making things up.
I was gonna say where you read this in Shastra. Well, Srila Rupa Goswami, he says, "I wish I had 1,000,000 tongues and 1,000,000,000,000 ears." So, kind of a similar thing. You need 1,000,000,000,000 tongues to preach to one person. So, you need to. Everyone should make a temple. It's not. Is it a big deal to make a temple, Peru? Is it a big hoo-ha? Does it take a lot of effort?
Everyone has to make a temple, otherwise he gets a vaccine.
Oh.
It's a new regulation. The police will come, and if you don't have a temple at home, immediately vaccine. You have to get a vaccine.
I don't think Bill Gates he made this law. This is a law that the Bliss is making, no?
Yeah, we killed Bill Gates, and now we're in charge.
Okay.
We're in charge of we distribute the vaccines now, and the vaccines are full of prasadam.
Ah.
Yes, sweet rice.
So why would I make a temple?
All I can say is. Okay, so what's the topic today?
How to make a temple, Prabhu? I have absolutely no experience making a temple, so I feel very unqualified to speak on this subject matter. But you have made several temples, so for all the people out there, if they want to make a temple, first of all, why should they want to make a temple? I think that's a good reason, a good thing to start with.
Yes, well, tempo is good because along with the chanting and hearing, we live somewhere and our conditioning is influencing us.
Sorry, Prabhu. I'm as a bewildered um, soul wandering in this universe. I've never heard of Krishna. What do you mean hearing and chanting? What is that hearing and chanting?
Hearing is like you're hearing this podcast and then you're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So these are the first two processes of devotional service, Krishna consciousness. We hear from Srila Prabhupada or we hear from the devotees. We hear the Maha Mantra while we're chanting, and then we're chanting or preaching, and in this way our heart is purified, provided we're hearing from a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So, um, along with these two very essential activities, it's good to make a nice temple where we can stay and live or visit because our senses they need engagement. When we chant and when we hear, we engage the tongue and the ear. That even rhymes. Uh, but there are also the eyes, there's touch, there's legs, there's arms, and they all need to be engaged in Krishna's service. Even Krishna says, just like a boat is floating on the, it can be, how do you say, tipped over.
Yeah.
Uh, Similarly, on like a wild ocean. Similarly, even if one of the senses is not engaged in Krishna consciousness, it can take away the intelligence of a self-realized, not self-realized.
Intelligent man.
Intelligent man can be overpowered. Yeah. So that's why we want to create a nice environment that reminds us of Krishna daily. So the first thing we should do if we want to make okay, there are two types of scenarios. Either we want to make a temple full time, we call it the full time temple. In other words, you quit your school, you quit your job, and you decide to depend on Krishna fully.
Full
That,
surrender. Full surrender.
yeah, that means that you should just give up everything and simply preach Krishna consciousness and bring people to the temple. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? We're doing that now. We have a place and we do preaching, and of course, now as everything is locked down, but ordinarily speaking, we would invite people to visit. John, here, take prasadam and give donation. So this is one type of lifestyle, you can say kind of like a Brahminical lifestyle, full-fledged Brahmana, who is simply preaching, worshipping deity, teaching others how to worship deity, accepting charity and giving charity. Giving prasadam, giving people prasadam is considered to be charity or giving them knowledge, giving them teaching or preaching. And then there's another type of scenario is that when you have a job and family, let's say you have also a family and you like your job, but you also like to preach. So in that case, perhaps it's even easier to maintain the place because you have a fixed income. In that case, you have a job and you do the same. You can do the same thing. You can invite people, preach Krishna consciousness like that. But um, you have that security of the income. So, um, why is it important in both cases? As I said before, we need to engage our senses along with chanting and along with the hearing from Srila Prabhupada and preaching. We need to keep ourselves always in a good Krishna consciousness transcendental atmosphere with nice altar, with nice incense burning. You can smell nice incense offered to Krishna. And most importantly is to invite people. so they can come into an environment which is inducing Krishna consciousness. So when you preach in your temple, when you invite someone into your temple, and then it's easier to preach Krishna consciousness. You can give him prasad. The person understands, okay, this is a Krishna thing. So when he's coming to visit you, he's already opening up his mind. Okay, this is gonna be some kind of a spiritual experience. So it saves you a lot of time. Whereas when you just preach at work or in school or someone on the street, it's difficult to create that transcendental atmosphere because everywhere there's so much passion and ignorance. So people also not very much inclined to hear and understand, open their mind. So temple is a very, very convenient way how you can preach Krishna consciousness to your family, to your friends, like that.
Basically, you have to kidnap people to an atmosphere which is makes them peaceful, so they can actually open their ears and hear you.
Yeah, basically it's a big trap. You just trap people and you lock the door and you force them to chant Hare Krishna. Of course not.
So, is it required that I have to have a temple to advance in my spiritual life? Is that necessary?
Yes, it's necessary. Yeah. It can take different forms. Of course, you don't have to have like Taj Mahal, but a little picture of Lord Chaitanya, a little picture of Srila Prabhupada, and you offer your foodstuffs. Whatever you cook, you offer to Krishna first. You have a temple. It's easy. What's the problem?
So a temple doesn't have. This can just be. You just do a little worship. Doesn't have to be a big ordeal. Exactly.
Do you eat?
I try to eat. Yeah, that's something I like to do.
Okay, so before you eat, offer it to Krishna.
Oh.
How you offer? You make an altar. So you have altar, you cooking for Krishna, offering. That's a temple. That's the basis. Everything else besides is, a plus, bonus. But this is the basis. So everyone is eating. So before you eat, offer it to Krishna. What's the problem? If you because you were asking me, is it necessary? Is eating necessary? What do you think?
Well, generally, I would say it's quite necessary.
Kind of handy, isn't it? So you have to eat. So you have to worship. This is very simple.
Okay, so you said that I just have to offer prasadam. Does that mean I can just be in the temple and I can eat and sleep, and then I have a temple, and then I become perfectly spiritual? Jai.
Mm, well, you have to preach, as I said, and if you don't preach, then get a job.
I mean to say, does preaching include you just give people prasadam and that's your preaching?
Well, no, you explain them what is the deity, what is that altar, what it means, why you offer the food, what is prasadam. When you distribute the prasadam, you should also explain what it is. Prasadam is food that was blessed by Krishna, it was eaten by Krishna. These are Krishna's remnants. So it's not an ordinary food. Uh, People, if you refuse the prasadam for the taste, that oh I don't like this or that, then you don't understand. It's not for taste. We're not gratifying the tongue with the prasadam, although that is difficult to believe. I mean, prasadam is very delicious, but it is not for the taste. It is to purify my consciousness by taking Krishna's remnants.
Okay. So, what's the first thing that people should do if they want to really get their temple going? You had the altar, you're offering prasadam, that's very simple. How can they expand their temple activities?
Well, the next thing is that you have to follow a spiritual master, right? If you want to make further advancement, not simply eating, but also giving some service to Krishna, then you should accept a spiritual master. So we're offering everyone the spiritual master is here. Srila Prabhupada is here, and he gave a specific sadhana. He gave specific rules and regulations. If you want to be a follower or disciple or whatever you want to call it of Srila Prabhupada, then you should follow his instructions. That is important. Not necessarily how you call yourself, but whether you're following the principles. So Srila Prabhupada gave these rules. Many of you probably already know what these rules are. No illicit sex life. Don't have any illicit sex. Even if you live with a wife, don't have illicit sex with a wife. Only beget children. Use sex life for begetting Krishna conscious children. And if you don't have a wife, then absolutely no sex. No meat eating, no taking anything unless it is offered to Krishna. No intoxication, kick out chocolate, coffee, cigarettes, ganja, heroin. If you're taking heroin, please stop. And then no gambling, no idle sports, no basketball, no football, no this, no that, no casino, no idle activities, theater, cinema, watching Beyonce or whatever. It's all gambling. So this should all be given up. Don't waste time with these activities. You need time for reading, chanting, serving Krishna. If you engage in Krishna consciousness, the first symptom is that you realize that your day doesn't have enough hours. You always feel like, oh, 24 hours only? I want 24 million hours in one day because Krishna will inspire to do so many different varieties of service. It's like money. You know why?
Because you can't get enough of it.
Exactly. It's like money. If I give you $1 million, then if I give you another one, you're not going to refuse. You're going to say, well, give me another one for sure. So when you do some service for Krishna with love and devotion, then the natural symptom is that you want more service and you start to expand your, like you said, expand the activities. So these four regulative principles we follow and we chant on Japamala, on these beats. You can order this on the internet. It's very simple. You just go from one beat to the other one and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then you grab another beat and you pass, then you go back. Very simple, very pleasurable. Also, this is how you count your chanting. It makes you fixed up. Not that you meditate whenever you like. You make a commitment. Yes, I will chant 60 rounds, and then if you're able to do all of this, then you should rise early in the morning. So you try. It's not so easy in the beginning. 16 rounds, 4 eggs. It requires a change of lifestyle. But gradually you can do it. Some people can do immediately. Like Maitreya Prabhu, immediately he was able to follow all these regulations.
That's what you think is going on.
Oh, really? So it's crazy. There's a crazy sound.
How did they get that How did they get someone to make this sound for the recording? Amazing.
They killed him for free. Yeah. So then we try to rise early, before 4. This is what Srila Prabhupada said. Actually, Prabhupada says that if you don't wake up before 4, you have no spiritual life. So anyway, slowly, you can try. You can, if you know that what the standard is, then you can approach slowly. But it's actually easy if you as soon as you start following, then you realize, oh, this is actually interesting. It's like a different consciousness. You live in a different world. If you rise early in the morning at 4 o'clock, you feel like, oh wow, I'm doing something special because everyone else is asleep, unless there's some, boys playing computer games or something. But usually people sleep at that time. So when you rise early, you feel like you have an advantage over the other people. If you want to motivate yourself in a materialistic way, you can say like that. That you have advantage over the other people. You have 4 hours. They wake up at 8 or 7 or sometimes 6 o'clock in the afternoon. They wake up after hangover. So if you wake up early before 4 a.m., you have special advantage. This time is specifically very, very, very auspicious, and it is very suitable for spiritual practice. The mind is very peaceful at that time. So take advantage of this time. And then we are following temple worship services, the aratiks, Mangal Aratik. We chant the Samsara Dava Dararida Loka song by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that is to honor the spiritual master. Then we have a little kirtan, and we chant the Tulasi prayer. Then we chant we chant the Nishingadev prayer, Tulasi prayer, and Shikshastakam prayer. We read a little nectar of devotion, just a few lines like that. And then we do our 16 rounds. So this is the basis of what we call the morning program. Then when we finish the japa, we do Guru Puja. We chant the Guru Vandana. It's a beautiful song by Narottam Das Thakur, glorifying the spiritual master again. And then we study the Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can also follow all of these. It's not that simply devotees living in a temple. Anyone can do this. It's so potent. It literally spiritualizes your whole day. This is called the morning program. So you can a little adjust. Let's say you have to go to work, and maybe like Srila Prabhupada was doing, he would chant 8 rounds only in the morning, and then in the evening you would chant the other 8 rounds. You can little adjust, but this is the standard that Srila Prabhupada instituted in the ISKCON movement. So then of course there's also evening program, Guru Aratik, again Kirtan, again the Shingadev prayer, Jayarada Madhava, and then you have the Bhagavad Gita study. You can study Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning and Bhagavad Gita in the evening. You can also interchange. Srila Prabhupada would give Chaitanya Charitamrita classes interchangeably with the Bhagavatam in the morning. And then in the evening, sometimes Prabhupada would give Nectar devotion classes or Sri's Upanishad class, like that. So in this way, you're hearing, chanting, worshipping. Maya cannot penetrate. You need to engage in practical service. It's not simply that I serve Krishna by eating or by being happy by smoking ganja. I am God, and if I enjoy, then God enjoys because I am God. No, 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 not this type of cheating. You have to follow the spiritual master like that. So, and if you're able to follow all these rules and regulations, then you qualify for what is called initiation, for diksha. You are qualified. This is the conditions or requirements Srila Prabhupada mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Follow the 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, rise early, attend the Mangalatik, go to Aratik, and attend the classes on the scriptures. You yourself, you can give a class or just read or listen to Prabhupada's class. Somehow the hearing should be there. And if you're able to do all of these, then you're qualified to preach. Preach in the sense like full-time preaching. In a sense that you can convert. I should not use that word convert. It's not really conversion, but you can convince some other people to take up the same practice. If you yourself are not practicing these, then it'll be kind of difficult to convince others. So then the temple can expand not simply in terms of activities, as Maitreya Prabhu says, but also in terms of devotees. That is the real joy when devotees are expanding and they have more ecstatic kirtan, more ecstatic prasadam feast, more ecstatic discussions. The more devotees gather, the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness is also increased.
So now you have people at your temple. You have nice devotees there. How do you engage these devotees? What should devotees be doing around the temple?
Same thing. Whatever you do, you just engage them in the same activities. Plus, you can make. I mean, how these devotees get in there? You have to make propaganda. So we have the social media, internet. Though you should take advantage of this. It's very handy. And you can also, the best is to go out on the street. Of course, that the internet cannot beat direct contact with the people. So you do book distribution. You order books from the Bliss, right? We will send you books for book distribution. You can make a little income to pay the rent or pay for your feast. And um, you can also distribute flyers. You organize. Let's say you decide, you commit to make a love feast every Sunday. You can make a love feast, so it's a fixed time uh, for a fixed program every week, and then you make a little flyer with the time and the website and everything, all the information, and then you can hand out. If people don't take a book, well, book distribution, that's another uh, topic that we can discuss sometime later. But that is also not difficult. You just go out in the street, you stop someone, excuse me, have you heard of yoga meditation? Yes, I have heard. Oh, take this book. It's very nice. Kindly give a donation. It's as simple as that, book distribution. If you simply go and you do it, somehow you will learn the way how to distribute the books and get donations. So if people are interested but they don't have money to buy a book, or they don't want the book, you can give them a flyer for the love feast. So of course, also people who buy the books, you can give them a flyer, invite them to your place. On the internet also, you can make your page on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, YouTube, and you propagate. There must be your contact, the address if possible, or your phone number. You give your phone number, so you just give the address to people who call you, and then you cook the feast on Sunday, and then you start. And so you were asking that when people already come and they decide to help out or join or whatever, then you have to make sure that they follow the principles strictly. Otherwise, they should not be cooking. They should not be giving classes if they're not following the principles. They can help out with cutting the vegetables, like that, sweeping the temple floor. Anyone can do this, washing the pots. But if they want to cook or they want to worship, just like doing aratics, or manipulating the altar, touching the altar, or giving classes, they should be following all the principles, and they should be initiated. So initiation is important. It's not that everyone is the same. Those who are initiated, they have committed. Those who are not initiated, they have still way to go. This is how you organize the temple: initiated, non-initiated, like that. And then you can engage these devotees in the same activities: sankirtan, propaganda. You can engage them. They can propagate on the internet, or go out and distribute books, or you go out and do chanting, street chanting, very important. Chanting the holy name outside, that is the most effective way of propaganda. When people see this chanting, you would not believe how they like. Everyone likes this chanting. People love this. People love the devotees chanting in the streets. Every time we go, so many favorable reactions we get. So that is very important. If you have many devotees, then you can have big sankirtan on the street. And yeah, so whatever you're doing, you just expand that. You engage the others. You teach them how you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, so Prabhu, do you have any experiences from you've been making temples now for a while? Could you maybe share some stories or experiences with your temple making, or just like tips, more tips for people? How within your experience, what have you learned when making a temple? Because you have the instructions, right? You have like what you should do, but then you have your personal experience and realizations on the subject matter. So like how should somebody be thinking? Like what's somebody's mindset when they're trying to make a temple and try to expand it? And
Well, the most difficult is to predict whether people are gonna come for your feast or not. That is the most difficult. You cook a big feast, many people promise to come, and then you cook a big feast and no one shows up. You're alone there, and then you have to honor all that prasadam, which is Nice in the beginning, but when it happens many times, you get indigestion, you can die of heart attack. So, unless you know how to distribute it. So, it's very important that you don't cook too much if people are not committed. You cook a little bit. Prabhupada says if you make 4 preparations, then it's considered to be a feast. So, what is more important in the beginning is to create some friends who would be interested to come on regular basis. So you have to, yeah, this is very important to hear from Srila Prabhupada and associate with the devotees. Of course, if you have that opportunity, then you should definitely go and spend some time with the devotees so you can see how they're doing it practically. But this preaching is not an easy task. You really, people have this very strong energy, and you have to basically learn how to deal with that energy and preach Krishna consciousness to them instead of them preaching to you, because then nothing's gonna work. They just come, they talk, they eat, and then they go and never come back. At your temple, you're just working, 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 and people are just coming to exploit. So this is also not good preaching. The temple is supposed to be a place of worship, not a place of sense gratification. So anyway, if you simply go on, even if people come to exploit, if you simply go on and on and on, if you do it, then Krishna will give you intelligence how to preach to the people. We're very much attached in the beginning. We have attachment. We want friends. Especially when you take up Krishna consciousness, you start practicing, then you realize your friends list is decreasing. The numbers are dropping. So number of friends are dropping. So then when you decide to make a temple and preach, then whoever comes, you very much cherish his association, and this can be a little difficult because as soon as people see that you are hankering for their association, it's the nature of conditioned souls to take advantage of that weakness or attachment, and then it really doesn't work. So be attached to Srila Prabhupada, be attached to the chanting, the process, and your vision of the temple, and people will come and they will help you ultimately. Also, you have to understand that Krishna consciousness is very rare, or people who are sincere are in small numbers. So you have to be very patient, and you should pray to Krishna to bring the people instead of compromising your principles with not so serious people. Better you stick to the process and pray to Krishna to send you a real association. In other words, potential devotees, and Krishna will do that because Krishna loves when you serve him without any expectation, any motivation. If you do it just for him. So I don't know. I guess that would be.
Would you say that you'd recommend that someone go and join an already established temple, or is it better that people make their own temples?
Yeah, I would recommend that they join first of all some established temple. Definitely, that is better. But sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes you just can't. There's no you stranded somewhere where there's no temple, no devotee association. So that's not the end of the world. You can do it yourself if you're sincere. Just Krishna will help you, even if you're not sincere. If you just do it, Krishna will help you. Krishna will purify you. Krishna will give you the intelligence. So I would highly recommend, that. Yes.
Yeah, I was just hearing a class from Srila Prabhupada actually, where he said that even if you surrender to Krishna blindly, that is still very good, because Krishna is independent of whatever your mindset is. He'll still act. He'll still inspire you. So yeah, it's not exactly the same thing, but it is the same principle. I guess that if you serve Krishna, then Krishna becomes pleased. Whether you do it even in a motivated way, and then Krishna will also that will purify your motivation by serving Krishna and feeling happy by serving Krishna. I don't know.
One thing I want to add that many people will leave. They will come, they will join for some time, and then they will disappear.
How to deal with that? How to deal with this?
Well, you just have to tolerate. It's you can't force anyone to Krishna kind. That purifies your lording it over propensity. You have to be so detached that even your dearest friends, devotees, they might just go because they have free will. If they don't like it, if you offend them or if you not treat them properly, they will just go. Or if it's too much for them. Many people come, they like the initial stage, but when they realize, oh, I have to do something also, then they go. They want to enjoy, but they don't want to serve. So you have to take care of people like that also, and then be ready that it is gonna go. You, yeah. Although I said that, yeah, the temple should not be for sense enjoyment. Most of the people are coming with that attitude. So you just have to do it, and you're never the loser, because Krishna is not your money, is not your temple. It's Krishna's temple. Krishna can supply unlimited prasadam. He can supply unlimited energy. You're never exploited. Even if people come and they don't do any seva, they just eat the prasadam and insult you as a payment, as a as a reward for your service. They insult you, or spit at you, or punch you in the face. I have experienced all of these.
Wow.
You just have to um, go on and not expect that they're entitled to give you anything. Krishna, they have rendered service to Krishna, and you just an instrument. You just like a how do you say tailor? No, when you go to a hotel and there's
Ah,
this guy,
butler.
a butler. You're just a butler in Krishna's palace.
Okay. So don't be discouraged if you get kicked on the face. Isn't that kind of like the purpose of a temple in one sense? Also, of course, it's to spread and give other people Krishna consciousness, but it's also for your own purification. What if you're like not? What if you're not so good at managerial, but you're the only person who can set up a temple? You're the only person who knows anything about Krishna, and you have to set up the temple, but you don't have the skills to do it.
Krishna will give you all the skills, whatever you need. Krishna will help you. There's this inconceivable Shakti of Krishna. Srila Jiva Goswami says that if you don't accept this inconceivable potency of Krishna, you cannot understand Krishna, who he is. So Krishna is inconceivable potency. One time I was organizing a feast in Montreal. I was renting the small apartment, and I was calling friends and whatever. So I made a big advertisement. There's gonna be big feast. Come, I'll give you nice prasadam. We chant whatever. So people were coming, and I had no money, zero. I had zero, nothing. So I was walking down the street, and I was just thinking. Actually, I was not. I was not desperate. I was thinking, how Krishna's gonna arrange this. I wasn't. I knew that Krishna's gonna somehow arrange. So I was thinking, how is gonna. I was looking forward to see Krishna's hand, how he's operating, and lo and behold, um, I see on the sidewalk while I'm walking, I see there's a $20 bill.
Wow.
What is this? $20 bill, just like that. So I took it. I bought ingredients. I cooked. Guests came. I served them prasadam. Everything was all right. There was not a single time when I did not have prasadam for people to come. Although I did not have a job. I didn't have a job, full-time job, since 2007. So for almost, what, 20 years or something. 15 years.
13 years.
13, sorry. Um, no income, no regular income, simply whatever Krishna sends. And I always manage by Krishna's mercy, not by I'm not glorifying myself. I am a fool, number one. But because I follow the Srila Prabhupada's instructions, Krishna always supplied the finances so I can finance the feasting. And when the guests come, I can feed them with nice prasadam. So this is amazing. The more you do it, the more you realize that, oh, Krishna is actually real. It's not just some theory in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna actually exists and he takes care of his devotees. It's wonderful. I recommend, highly recommend. Be charitable in the most transcendental sense. Cook prasadam. Of course, you have to follow the principles yourself, not that, you're smoking ganja and then you're cooking. You have to be fixed. Then make prasadam, cook prasadam, call people, distribute. Krishna will always maintain you. It is so high class service.
So it sounds like the beginning principle, the first thing that's required is faith.
Yeah, definitely. You have to have faith for anything. If you want to be a doctor, you have to have faith that, oh, yes, I can be a doctor. That's why you go to university, you get your diploma. Everything begins with faith. But that faith must be backed up by knowledge. So you have to regularly hear or read Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada is like a transcendental coach. When you see the boxers,
The montage.
yeah, they punching each other on the face, and then there's this coach in the corner, and he's encouraging him, go punch him now, yeah, uppercut, this that. So that is Srila Prabhupada. We need to constantly hear his encouraging words, transcendental words. We cannot maintain Krishna consciousness independently. We need the guide, we need the coach. So Srila Prabhupada is the best coach. He is available to us through his audio, video, writings, letters, everything. You can take full advantage of association of a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So wonderful.
Okay, that's actually a nice example with the boxing ring because Prabhupada also says that the temple is like a what is that? It's like a you come. Basically, I'm just paraphrasing the essence, but you go and you preach, and then you come back to the temple and you get strength. So the boxing ring also, the boxer, and he's punching there, fighting. Then the bell rings, ding ding, and he goes to the corner, and then the coach is, wiping him off with the thing. Of course, Prabhupada's not your servant. It's kind of like a weird example, but the coach is giving him water and he's giving him encouragement. So it's the same thing. You preach, and then you come back to the temple and you hear from Prabhupada, you get encouraged, and you go back out and preach again.
Well, that's for the if you want to be full time.
Ah, right.
Yeah. If you want to be full time, then you can do Sankirtan. You can go out on the street and preach there. That is very, 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 that is the most important actually. That's how the movement grows. Devotees going out and distributing books and chanting. This is Prabhupada's formula. So nothing can beat that. Even this internet, it's good, but going out on the street is and chanting. This is the Yuga Dharma, Lord Chaitanya's movement. So let's hope that we can get out of this lockdown at some point and continue the chanting. And if not, we die, we take birth again, and we'll do it some other time. It's okay. Well, somehow we do it. We're not hampered by any material circumstance. Nothing can stop Lord Chaitanya's movement. Nothing.
Jai. So, thank you, Prabhu. Well, okay, one more question actually. Should people get connected with the bliss? Should they connect that if they make a temple? Should they get connected with the bliss? Should they somehow make it a bliss temple? And what is the procedure there?
Well, they don't have to. We're not the gate to the spiritual world. We're just practitioners, just like they might be practitioners. We also practitioners. So there's no obligation. Srila Prabhupada doesn't need us. But the advantage of associating and cooperating with other practitioners is that your options expand. You know, you can visit each other, you can help one another in propagating. Just like on Facebook, right? We see that, you know, if we cooperate together, if we, you know, like each other's posts, then more people come. See? Even Lord Chaitanya says, I cannot spread the teaching, the chanting on my own. If Lord Chaitanya wants, he's all powerful, he can do it alone, but he wants to engage us in this devotional cooperation. We should establish transcendental friendships, friendships that are based on glorification of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, not based on what can I get from this guy, how can I exploit this guy, oh they have this temple, or maybe I can just go and take over and, you know, punch him in the face and not like that. That is material friendship. You know, what can I get from this guy? We should make transcendental friendship based on Krishna Katha, on learning, that I learn something from devotees, or I teach them. I teach them something. Of course, they must be interested. If I'm teaching and they're not interested, that is annoying. But if they, let's say there's some problem and you know how to solve the problem, so you give them the solution. Yeah, they will progress in their project. We should be non-envious. This is very important. Establish transcendental friendships. How to be non-envious. Okay, you have a nice temple, but they also have a good temple, so why don't you go and clean the toilets? Do some seva. That will purify it. Instead of being envious, right? Oh, they have bigger temple than us. We are so small. So this is not a Vaishnava. This is a karmi. You're still a karmi if you think like that. Instead, you should be glorifying. Oh, they're more sincere. They have a bigger temple and more devotees and more tasty prasadam. We are losers. So anyway, let's glorify them. They're very nice devotees. And these big devotees, successful devotees, should also not be puffed up, but they should help out. Oh, you are doing this? Well, you can expand your temple like this, like this. You can get people to come to your feast more easily if you do like this. So this is what we want, not competition and envy and betrayals and fighting and envy. If we have these kind of traits, it's not really Krishna conscious association. So do they have to come to bliss? No, there's no obligation. Let us cooperate spontaneously on this spontaneous principle of attraction for the real thing, Krishna.
Very nice. Okay. So, anyone who's watching this, if you don't make a temple after hearing this podcast, I don't know, maybe you should listen to the podcast again. Again, you gotta listen. Unless oh, Krishna arranged. That's the sound I would make if you didn't make a temple after listening to this podcast. So, thank you very much for hearing the Bliss podcast. There are some people that I'd like to thank because they are constantly, every single week, we release this podcast on the same day. We've been doing it for over a year now. We're like on the 61st podcast. And there are some people who have been listening from the very beginning, like Harley David Heiser Prabhu. He just gave a donation. Thank you, Harley, for supporting us. He's a very nice example of the fact that you can also support the bliss and the preaching, and you can help our temple that we have established here in London also expand in one of the busiest cities in the world. Of course, now there's COVID, but hopefully it will be unlocked soon. Like Prabhu said, then we'll be able to hit the streets. But right now, we also put out so many different items of content. Like we have these podcasts, we have live streams in the evening, some days in the week, and then every single morning we have a Srimad Bhagavatam class. His Grace Purja Prabhu, who just was talking now on the podcast, he gives them a Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning with questions and answers, and there's a growing community there of devotees and people who are just getting into the practice, who are asking questions, and there's lots of lively discussion, so it's really exciting. And also His Grace Purja Prabhu has compiled ebooks, which you can find on our website, and I'm going to put all the links to this in the description of this video. So there are articles on our website. Also, we also have big philosophical movies and very lively Facebook groups and pages where there's always Krishna conscious content, and we're also available to chat about Krishna on Facebook. So in so many ways you can connect, and also Zoom on Sundays now. We just started a Zoom conference calling. So if you're very fortunate, you can come to that. So we have so many ways to connect, like Prabhu said, over transcendental topics, and it's booming now. It's booming. So please come, and also please support in whatever way you can. There's links to the various ways you can support us down in the description below. There's a just giving, which is like a GoFundMe. You can give a one-time donation, or you can become a Patreon and you can become entitled to the ebooks on a commitment basis. Yes, so there's many nice avenues for support, and we have consistent supporters also. Mr. Dushan, thank you, Mr. Dushan, for constantly giving us your help. Richard, Fedorko, Makanchora Prabhu. There are so many. It's really, I should just make a big list. Actually, I did make a list of all of our donors. You can find that on our Facebook page. If you go to Expand the Bliss, like the page, you can see all of our content that we put on there also. So because my brain is fried, but yes, thank you for listening once again. We're going to be back next Monday as per usual, and there's going to be a special podcast then. So Maitreya Rishi Dasa was here with His Grace Purjabu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.